Hello, all you net girls and net boys out there, and welcome to Undeclared Bajor.
I'm glad we addressed both, gender possibilities.
And, whatever.
And whatever's right, yeah. The Andorians have 4 genders, so, you don't want to be...
Or, however you want to express yourself. My name is Fletcher, about to say hello is Data.
Hey!
Today we're going to recap and discuss Star Trek DS9, Season 5, Episode 17, A Simple Investigation. Alternate title, The Idanian Candidate.
Yeah, that fits.
I'm sure I've done a Manchurian Candidate joke before, but...
Yeah, 100% certain that's a thing that's happened.
Just in case this is your first time watching Star Trek DS9, we will attempt to only discuss spoilers up through this episode, but proceed at your own risk. A Simple Investigation originally aired March 31st, 1997, I think.
Something like that.
It was written by Renee Echevarria and directed by John Kretschmer.
Yeah, this is a fellow who's... He goes on to do one more episode of Deep Space Nine in Season 7, and then 2 episodes of Voyager. So not exactly, the most intense Star Trek history here. But he's a big TV director. It lists off so many. He also did Sequest DSV, Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman, Sliders, Xena, Hercules, Buffy, Early Edition, The Lone Gunman, Charmed,
all the
Burn
great
Notice.
hits of the 90s. Wow.
Riverdale and iZombie. So he's working right up to pretty recently.
So I guess just they needed a good TV director to step in. He's like, I've directed Xena. I think I can handle some Deep Space Nine.
It's basically the same thing, right?
Yep. Didn't they film that in New Zealand?
I believe they did, yes.
Oh. Must be hard to get directors to go out there to do that.
That's an interesting point. I mean, you got to find locals. You get Taika Waititi out there to direct Xena. I'm sure he was probably like 18.
Hello, guys. I can't do a Taika Waititi voice.
How old is he? He was born in 1975, so around 1995. Yeah, he would have been like 20.
Yeah, maybe.
Could have been starting out in his directing. Now I have to go and see what Taika Waititi did what his first directing gig ever was. I wish it was Xena.
He did something called like The Hunt for the Wilder People or something.
Oh yeah. Okay, upcoming. I don't want upcoming. I want to go all the way back.
Kind of like his big breakout.
So his first thing that wasn't a short was 2007, something called Eagle versus Shark.
Oh, I remember that movie. I didn't see it, but I remember it happening.
He did 4 episodes of Flight of the Conchords. So
that makes sense.
Yeah. But, so yeah, there's New Zealand people that are good at directing, probably.
That has nothing to do with this episode.
No.
But unless John Kretschmer
Unless John Kretschmer is. Okay, hold on.
Hold on.
Now we have to know where John Kretschmer is from. John T. Kretschmer, an American film and television director and television producer.
Sounds pretty American.
Yep, pretty American, all right. Prior to his career in television, Kretschmer worked as an assistant director on a number of films such as The In-Laws, Baby Boom, The Naked Gun from the Files of Police Squad, and Jurassic Park.
Huh. Wow.
Yeah.
Quite a career. And Sirach Lofton is not in this episode.
Nope, does not appear.
So anyway, diving into our recap. A mysterious hooded alien acts mysterious and wears a hood around in his Deep Space Nine quarters. He slips something mysterious up his sleeve, which I don't think we ever find out what that is.
Well, since it gets disintegrated shortly, yeah.
As he asks the computer for the time, then his doorbell rings. 2 blue aliens are out the door, who quickly barge in and start beating up hooded guy, demanding to know where, quote, it is. He says he'll take them to it, but then surprise, he pulls a gun. But one of the blue aliens is quick on the draw and shoots the hooded guy first, causing him to vaporize, leaving a big stain on the carpet. And he's like, oh shoot, I thought it was on stun.
I do love their delivery in the scene where it's just like so deadpan.
This is just one of those unsung one-episode Deep Space Nine duos, like Dolmer and Luxley. This is sarcastic alien and dumb alien.
Yeah, no, they're great. I totally could have used them back again sometime, but
they need a novel.
They should definitely have a novel.
But they worry about where to find what the thing they're looking for, and they decide to wait for, quote, her to come looking for it. Meanwhile, at Quark's, Bashir gleefully announces the arrival of his new spy holosuite program, which hopefully won't trap them all and turn real. But everyone's excited to give it a try, except for Odo, who seems distracted and uncomfortable. Especially when he learns his job will be to steal Chief O'Brien's girlfriend. So I don't even know how they got him at that table to begin with, but...
Maybe he agreed back when he was human or something, you know?
Sure, yeah. He's like, I'm a changeling, I don't need any of this pretend holosuite stuff. But he apologizes and says they'll have to find someone else to take his part. Then he walks over to the bar where Quark is creepily hitting on a mysterious woman.
Which is not at all unusual for Quark, but...
No. Odo just stands there and watches as the woman smoothly gets rid of Quark by pointing out a couple of aliens who are cheating at Dabo. So, he's like, oh no!
Crap, my money!
Odo, completely unconcerned by the crime in progress, as the only victim is Quark, is impressed. Although he notices the woman glancing over at the door. He asks her if she's waiting for someone, which she mistakes as flirting, attributing it to Odo's, quote, bedroom eyes.
I do love this exchange, just for how it ends, where he's like, well, you keep looking at the door. He's like, yeah, I'm waiting for someone. Yeah, that's what I asked. The answer to my question was yes. Thanks.
Odo awkwardly excuses himself and goes back to his office, but then the camera pans over to reveal, also at the bar, the two blue aliens.
It is way too easy to make Odo uncomfortable and run away, given his job as chief of security.
True.
Also, apparently these I don't remember if it's said in the episode, but according to this, it says the script says these two green-skinned thugs are Finians. That's their species. Finians, I don't know.
Oh, Finians?
Yeah.
Isn't that the planet that she believes she grew up on?
Let's see. Finea Prime was inhabited, blah, blah, blah. Yes. And so it kind of it calls it out in here. It's like, you would think, given what she's worried about, that Finians showing up on the station would have aroused some suspicion when they're talking through, who's here. But apparently not. Also, you would think that the Idanian operative at the beginning, when he opens the door and finds two Finians, might have been concerned. But he didn't show any particular concern.
You would have thought he would have said, who is it, or something, before he opened the door.
No, in the future, everyone is so safe that they don't worry about that sort of thing.
It's like, I'm on this important secret mission. I wonder who could be at the door.
There's no peepholes or anything in the future, so it's a problem.
But yeah, these two aliens are at the bar, and they're conducting the world's least subtle stakeout.
It is pretty obvious, pretty overt.
Apparently, she's not worried, so...
Yeah, she's not worried about much stuff. I really wish that we'd seen more of what Bashir's got going on, because it sounds so fun.
Yeah, but no B-plot this episode.
It calls out in the wiki that the Holo novel was purposefully limited in its screen time by the writers, and who also kept any James Bond homages restrained after they were threatened with legal action following the previous episode.
Nice. But they had to be kind of cheeky and get a little bit in there.
Yeah.
Later in the cargo bay, Odo and Kira are supervising a shipment of gach or something, which, grabbed Kira. But Odo is distracted by looking at his, quote, bedroom eyes and various shiny surfaces. Kira is curious, and Odo tells her about the encounter with the mystery woman. Kira says she sounds perceptive, which I guess means Kira also thinks Odo has bedroom eyes.
I think that Kira's just trying to talk up some woman to Odo so that he'll show some interest or an increased amount of interest in someone for once.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, just all this talk of bedroom eyes really confused me. But anyway, she encourages Odo to try to see the woman again. And what luck! She's sitting in his office when he gets back. A deputy hands Odo a pad, which Odo glances at for 0.2 seconds, which is apparently enough time to learn that she tried to break into the station computer. Although, I guess I'll bring up at this point, how does Odo work? Does he see through his eyeballs? Or
Yeah, I think that the idea would have to be that he creates organs that are specifically made for seeing.
In this episode, we'll bring up many more questions about how Odo works, but... the woman says she was looking for a friend of hers who never showed up, while she rubs her neck. Data port bothering you, says Odo, introducing a fun new cyberpunk element into the Star Trek universe.
Yeah.
But apparently Odo's security protocols caused some nasty feedback.
Which is 100% intentional.
Yep.
If you try to data port around Deep Space Nine, he wants you to regret it.
Yep. The woman, whose name is Orissa, if that is her real name, Bart Simpson.
It's not.
Spins a story about how she was trying to hire an Idanian man to track down her missing daughter. Odo agrees to take her to the Idanian's quarters to talk to him, but nobody answers the door. And he's usually so cheerful to open the door.
This is one thing that we know about him.
And according to the security access log, he should be inside. But after waiting pretty much no time, Odo uses his security override to get in the quarters, where he quickly notices the stain on the carpet and deduces what happened.
Wait, that's one of those guy got disintegrated stains.
I know a vaporized guy stain on the carpet when I see one. Well, shoot, says Orissa. I guess I'm back to square one looking for my daughter. Oh, also, are you going to charge me for the hacking? Oh no, says Odo. All charges dropped. Feel free to do whatever you want with no fear of being secretly followed.
I mean, this raises a question of just like how much leeway Odo is given to, because I like you, I'm going to let you get away with crimes. But I mean, he does say it's like, oh, you didn't actually get anything. So, and then we know that part of his plan is also he's going to watch her. So,
right. I'm sure that's what the FBI says all the time. It's like, oh, you didn't actually get anything important, so no harm.
There's let's see, the wiki calls out that Dae Young, D-E-Y, is the woman who plays Orissa, and the costume the costume she wears here was previously used also by her when she appeared as Hannah Bates in the Next Generation episode, The Masterpiece Society.
Oh, wow.
So they're just like, oh, we got something that'll fit her? Yeah, actually we do.
Yeah, looks good enough. Also, Orissa is an insurance term. So, back a long time ago, I had to worry about it because we had Orissa and non-Orissa policies.
Oh, yeah, okay. Now that you say that, that does sound familiar.
And if you were working a claim, you had to be sure which one you were working. I now have to Google what
But it's not spelled that same way, is it?
No, it's ERISA.
That's what I thought.
Employee Retirement Income Security Act. Is a federal law that sets minimum standards for most voluntary established retirement and health plans in private industry. So there you go. Anyway, later Orissa sneaks through some corridors to a computer terminal and does some data porting. After hours on the promenade, Quark locks up the bar, but then realizes Morn is still inside.
You'd think you would notice that pretty quickly, but...
He's just so used to seeing Morn. He's like, oh, Morn. Once the coast is clear, Orissa tries to sneak out of the assay office. Remember that?
I've heard of that before.
That was in the episode where... That was in the Q episode.
Was it?
That was where they hid the space.
Oh, yeah. You're right. Was that also where, like, they find, like, Quark and Rom break in to find the thing hidden behind a panel in the wall? That list?
I want to say that was the chemistry shop.
Well, it used to be the chemistry
At one
shop.
point, it was the chemistry shop. Maybe now it's the assay
past.
office.
Yeah, I think that's what I think. I'm not sure.
We could look it up, but...
Okay, hold on. The assay office. What are they assaying? That's the real question here. The assay office, aka Office of the Assayer, was a facility located in the Promenade. The most secure location on the station. Each locker is surrounded by individual force fields. The retinal scanners were Cardassian MK-12 models.
This is important.
Yeah. Back in the emissary, on Sisko's first day, Odo and Kira catch Nog stealing ore samples from the assay office.
Oh yeah, that's when the guy threw the thing at Odo's face.
Yep. Vash, we talked about that. In the episode Shadow Play, Freyla worked in the assay office. Trelos Vren was once arrested for trying to break into the assay office. No, yeah, it's not mentioned, so I guess not.
Shadowplay was the hologram planet, right?
Yes, that is right.
Okay.
But I guess this must have been like the weird B story in that one.
So anyway, yeah, she sneaks out of the assay office and runs right into Odo. They do some flirty banter about strip searches, but Orissa just hands Odo what she stole, a data crystal, and he's very trusting that that's what she was really there for.
Yep. Doesn't strip search her at all, at least that we see. Maybe it happens off screen.
Oh, he strip searches her, all right. Odo analyzes the crystal and finds it odd. It has such strong encryption if all it contains is information about a missing girl. He says it would be an easy matter to have her examined to see if she'd ever been pregnant, which sounds all kinds of illegal.
No, because we know how medical ethics in the 24th century work, and it's perfectly fine.
That sounds like an unreasonable search and seizure to me, but
honestly, it's probably just like a quick tricorder scan.
True.
I would think that the laws about that may not be so stringent, since it's like so uninvasive.
Right. Oh well. But she fesses up that she doesn't have a daughter, but she was telling the truth about Odo's bedroom eyes.
Well, yeah, that's okay.
She tells a new story about working for an Orion Syndicate member named Drame, for whom she does hacking work. But she wants to quit, and the dead Idanian guy claimed to have information she could use to get free, although she has no idea how he got this information, how he got in touch with her, or even why she felt compelled to trust him. She figures Drame must have been listening in on her phone calls or reading her emails or something, and had some of his people beat her to Deep Space Nine and kill the guy. And they're probably still on the station trying to get their hands on the data crystal. So Odo decides to place Orissa in productive custody while he tries to hack the data crystal, or while Chief O'Brien tries to hack it.
Yeah, O'Brien and Dax can do it. They can do anything.
Meanwhile, the two blue aliens are camped out down in a cargo bay eating Hasperat burritos and plotting to kill Orissa before she figures out what's on the crystal.
I mean, can they not afford a room? Or, like...
They're trying to lay low. Like, maybe this is why Odo never security flagged them or something. I don't know.
I feel like they've got to scan the cargo bays. I feel like people in the cargo bays when there shouldn't be anyone there is way less laying low than two random guys passing through getting a room.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, maybe they hacked, because later I think they say they disabled the doors or something, which they didn't, but...
Yeah, they're bad at it.
Yeah. These might not be the most competent criminals.
I thought it was on stun.
So Odo takes Orissa to some secure quarters, but then pulls a little switchy switch and beams her to his quarters, where he set up a bed, or he still has his bed from when he was a solid or something. But he's no longer using it, because, as he tells Orissa, he regenerates by turning into goo, which she says sounds relaxing.
He's like, yeah, I just kind of slide off the bed. I don't know why that would happen, honestly. I feel like if you get a decently soft mattress, you would, still press into it enough to not slide away.
Yeah, but... true. And like I think we've mentioned before, he should just put like a little container rail around the bed or something to hold him in. But Orissa tells Odo her backstory as a, quote, net girl on the world of Phinea, which is not a cushy Federation world where everything gets handed to you. says Ira Stephen Bear or whatever.
Yeah, it's one of those non-Federation
Right.
worlds. I don't know that we know anything about who Phenea Prime belongs to.
Right. I just assume it's some independent planet or something.
Yep, non-aligned is what it says.
Anyway, she let Min into her mind for money. And that's how she met Drame and fell into the scary world of Orion Syndicate hacking. Odo vows not to let anyone hurt her and pitches the idea of testifying against Drame, which that sounds safe.
Yeah, 100% safe. Why does... I feel like anytime we see Orion Syndicate people, they're never Orions. It's weird.
This is a good point. Because they're the top dogs. They're pulling the strings.
Yeah.
So he compares her working for the Orion Syndicate to his working for the Cardassians and admires her for having the courage to try to get out, which he never did.
Calling out exactly what I've said multiple times, right. That his actions were pretty shifty.
Yes. As we saw pretty clearly recently in the whatever that episode was called. But he says most people never see past the surface, especially when that surface is so beautiful. So good line.
Yep.
Meanwhile, Secret Agent Julian Bashir is in the backseat of a limo seducing Falcon's girlfriend.
I don't know how they talked O'Brien. Like, O'Brien was specifically like, I don't want to be Falcon anymore. And then Odo leaves, and O'Brien's like, hey, can I be the character who seduces the beautiful woman? And somehow...
he's still Falcon.
Yeah, somehow Bashir talks him into being Falcon and letting Bashir be the one to steal the girl. Yep. And it's just like, oh, really? I mean, at the very least, you could have had, like, Dax steal the girl.
But O'Brien seems to enjoy being Falcon, so...
In this case, where he gets the drop on Bashir, I think, yes, he appreciates the being able to do that.
Yeah. But yeah, there's a knock on the window of the moving car. It's Odo, who wants some advice about women. Bashir advises Odo to go for it. Fear of rejection be damned. Then they're interrupted by a very into character Chief O'Brien as Falcon.
I do like he's like, oh, hi, Odo. And then immediately back into like character.
Steals his girlfriend back. Odo goes back to his quarters and where he and Orissa do it. The practicalities of which we are thankfully spared.
So apparently Rene Auberjonois has to shave his entire upper body for this episode because we see him shirtless here for, I guess, like the first time ever.
Yeah. Once again, he doesn't wear clothes, so he must have shape-shifted into a naked body.
Yep.
Anyway, we could just go down a whole rabbit hole of what's going on here. But
so... In the original plan was for Odo to have a sexual relationship with like that Bajoran lady from early in the 5th season while he was still humanoid. But then they were like, oh yeah, she doesn't seem right for him. So they changed their plans. And it says by the time they got around to doing a relationship story for Odo, he'd already got his shape-shifting powers back. And Ronald D. Moore was very unhappy about this. And he's like, man, I wish we'd done that show while he was still human. It would have carried a lot more weight to like have this then.
That would have been a good time to do that.
Yeah, and there would have been maybe even more like possibility behind this relationship when it's like, oh my gosh, is this like when I get a long-term relationship because suddenly I'm human? But also, it says that in Rene Echevarria's original teleplay, there's a scene where Orissa comes out of Odo's bedroom and finds him regenerating. She walks over and touches him, and he morphs onto her. Echevarria was especially proud of this scene, but Ira Stephen Bear thought it was more thematically important for Odo to make love as a humanoid.
Also, that sounds weird, but...
It does sound a little bit weird. Yeah. And there's one other note about this relationship. The producers intended this episode to illustrate to the viewers that Odo was no longer in love with Kira. They were satisfied with how the relationship had ended in Crossfire, and they felt that the only chance Odo and Kira had was when he was a humanoid, but since Shakar was still in the picture, that never happened. As such, as far as the producers were concerned, Odo and Kira were back to being just friends, something which this episode was designed to illustrate.
Shakar, whom we have seen for the last time.
Yes.
But as far as I know, they're still going out.
Yep.
So after they do whatever they did, Orissa notices that Odo's nose looks a little different, and he reveals that he likes to look a little different every day. So if you ever see any inconsistencies in the makeup or anything like that, that's why.
Yep. Makeup or costuming, because as we've established, the costume is him.
Yep. Also, he confides that he's never been with a woman before, except for that one time with the female changeling, which he reveals he considers a sexual experience. So, just, keep that in mind. In case you needed to know that.
Yep. I'm very glad we established these important details.
Right. Orissa is worried about the Orion Syndicate catching up with her, and as a distraction asks Odo about his sexual changeling experience. As a demonstration, Odo turns his hand into goo, which she apparently really likes. And then we cut away before presumably all kinds of freaky changeling stuff happens. Later in Ops, Worf listens uncomfortably while Dax and Kira gossip about Orissa staying over in Odo's quarters. Worf scolds them, but Dax tells him, hey, come over here and just gossip with us. You know you want to. Then Sisko comes in asking where Odo is. He's late with his conference call with Starfleet Intelligence. But Odo shows up, and everyone knows what's up.
It's like, oh, yep, you got late, clearly.
He did it. Orissa sends an email to Drame and offers to give him the crystal if he'll let her go. A deal which the blue aliens talk about quickly betraying.
Yeah, I mean, if she's worked with these guys at all, I don't know why she thinks that this is going to end well.
Later in Odo's office, an Idanian man walks in looking for Orissa. For you see, she's an intelligence agent under such deep cover that even she doesn't know, and all her memories are stored in the data crystal.
So it's just like that episode where Kira gets kidnapped to Cardassia, except for real this time.
Yeah, like that other person who they thought Kira was. So they go to find Orissa, but find that she has gone and knocked out Chief O'Brien and stolen the crystal.
Rude.
She goes to the cargo bay to hand over the crystal, and oh my gosh, it's a trap! But then all the doors to the cargo bay open, and Odo gets the drop on the aliens.
I do love the way that they do the trap, where it's just like, oh, look, see, I'm clearly not armed. And she's like, okay, here's the crystal. Wait a second, let me introduce you to my friend who is armed.
Right.
Like, it was well played.
Can you believe in this big maze of stuff there was another guy?
Really, I mean, she could have just, like, popped in the door, chucked the crystal at him, and ran off.
Yep. Logically, the thing to do is to just, like, hide the crystal somewhere and then call up and say, okay, here's where
like
the crystal
drop.
is.
Yep.
So, again, maybe she might not be the best spy. They might not be the best criminals.
Or, I mean, as far as she knows, or as a general person would know, there's nothing illegal about her giving these people a crystal. So it could even be done completely in the open, where it's like, we will all go to the assay office together. I will open my personal cupboard with my retinal scan, take out the crystal, give it to you. Lots of witnesses. You leave.
Yep. It's like in Breaking Bad. It's like, how come non-criminals always want to have these meetings in, like, junkyards and stuff? It's like, what's wrong with, like, the mall? Anyway, so Orissa's mission is a success. They put her memories back and change her back to her true Idanian form. She comes to Odo's quarters for her last goodbye, where she reveals she's married, but assures him their time together was real.
And that relationship must be rough. She's been gone a while.
Yeah. It's like, hey, I'm going to go on a 2-year secret mission to infiltrate the Orion Syndicate. It's like, oh, okay. But, this seems to be like a society of spies, so maybe they're just...
Yeah, we are told that they're very private.
Yeah.
These Idanians. I don't know how much we know about them. I know there's Idanian spice pudding. That's a thing we've heard about before.
Ooh.
But that's the only thing that I can think of about the...
So Odo asks if he'll ever see her again, and she says, I don't know, depends on how good this episode's ratings are. The end.
Well, it's funny because she's quoted in here, like the actress is saying, she really enjoyed the episode. She really enjoyed, especially working with Renee and the director. Said he was a great director. In all the years Paramount has done the show, I am the only love interest that Odo has had. So it was important that it was real, and we had a great relationship. We really worked on that. It was a lot of fun. And then she says, there's talk about bringing her back. How they would do that, I don't know. I guess we'll see. So she was enthusiastic about the possibility of
well, I'm sure she
a
was.
return.
So, or I still got that costume if you want me to play any other characters.
She actually does later play a character in Enterprise who, hold on, do they use that same costume again? I think it was mentioned in here. Let's see. Yes, and later for Kayla in an Enterprise episode called 2 Days and 2 Nights, she uses the same costume again.
So she wore the same costume in 3 episodes on 3 different TV shows.
Yep.
Nice. So you got any other fun?
Yeah, sorry, I was looking up this Kayla person because I've never seen this episode of Enterprise. And I was like, she doesn't seem like she dresses very similarly to these other 2 people, but I don't know, maybe. Well, this Kayla person's also an operative for her government.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there's like 1 or 2 more notes here. Let's see. Renee Auberjonois says, I thought that this was a terrific episode. Really loved working with Day Young. The director was terrific. I think that was the show in which I chided Ira about how he's always trying to make Odo suffer. And speaking of good old Ira...
Odo must suffer.
Yes. I mean, really, you haven't been watching these O'Brien episodes, Odo. Even in this episode, O'Brien gets beat up for no reason.
I mean, to be fair, Odo does his fair share of suffering, so...
He had to be human for a while. Oh, boo-hoo. So did the rest of us, my man. Ira Stephen Bear says about this episode, I think we do crappy romances, but in terms of romantic shows, this wasn't a bad one. So he's like, yeah, our show sucks.
Yeah.
But this was okay.
So normally we're doing stinkers, but we pulled this one out.
We pulled this one out to okay instead of horrible.
Yep.
The last note is about the inspiration for this episode. The episode is inspired by the 1952 Richard Fleischer film The Narrow Margin.
Ooh.
In the movie, Charles McGraw plays a policeman who's assigned to escort Mary Windsor to an important trial in which she's the key witness. Over the course of the film, he falls in love with her, even though he knows he shouldn't, as there can be no future with her. At the end of the film, spoiler, it turns out that Windsor is also a cop and is acting as a decoy for the real witness, who has gotten to the trial by a completely different way.
So she was an undercover cop.
Yeah.
And then she was just playing along, and then they fell in love. Okay.
The part that gets to me is so she's a witness against somebody, or supposedly a witness against somebody, and she's acting as the decoy. So the person she's a witness against doesn't know what the witness looks like when they want to kill this witness. Because I feel like that's who would know. I don't know. It seems strange to me that you can get away with... Maybe... Because if the person doesn't know what the witness looks like, then you don't have to do any sort of protecting. That person can just walk along just fine, and no one will know to get them.
Yeah, this is... Maybe you have to see the movie, and it all makes sense.
Yeah, it could be.
I'm sure the movie's on YouTube. I'll post a link down below. All right, want to jump into reviews?
Okay, let's do it.
All right. What did you think of A Simple Investigation?
Okay. I mean, it's nice to get an Odo story that does this much work with Odo. He's getting to do a little investigating, although, as usual, as soon as he gets personally involved in something, his investigative chops take a huge leap off a cliff. And he doesn't do much investigating. He gets distracted by caring about somebody.
Mm-hmm.
So at least that's consistent, I guess. But, yeah, it seems really sudden and out of nowhere the way Odo falls for this woman. And she's just like into him because he's helping her, it seems like, and like nobody else cares about her. So it almost feels a little bit like taking advantage of her, except that at the end she's like, "Oh no, I still like you, but I'm married." So
I mean,
I don't know.
You're
the whole relationship.
You're forgetting about the bedroom eyes.
Oh well, obviously, yeah. The whole relationship feels a little weird to me, and as with all Star Trek relationship episodes, like it all has to happen in one episode, so it always feels way too rushed. Which is weird because on Deep Space Nine, like Lita and Bashir had the opportunity, like their relationship lasted several episodes. We just never saw any of it, so even that felt like rushed from instigation to breakup because that's all we knew anything about. So I kind of agree with Ira that they don't do relationships really well. They don't do romances really well on this show so far.
Right.
But this has been, I also agree that I think this is probably one of the better ones. They make you feel the emotional investment in it. I liked the guest stars, especially the two guys. They were a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I wish there'd been some more of that B story. But you know, I think that overall, I'm like, this is an okay episode. It's going to be like above the line for me. I'm going to probably give it a Lieutenant Commander.
All right, nice. Yeah, I mean, I feel pretty similarly. I mean, definitely it has the one episode romance problem, which is so many Star Trek episodes have. But yeah, this does it way better than, say, Meridian.
Well, I mean, it would be hard not to.
The one where Sisko fell in love with the lady and then the guy flew into a star.
Oh, yeah, I'd forgotten about that.
So many examples.
I don't know why the first one popping into my head is the episode where Picard is like dating that woman who works for him, and then he has to like order her to her death or whatever.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen that one in a really long time.
Yeah, me either, actually.
But yeah, I kind of like most of the stuff about this episode. Kind of like. I mean, it's a little slow. Maybe you could have thrown in some more James Bond stuff. I think it's almost kind of humorous the way we only get that one little scene, and it's just, you know, everybody's immediately going out of character.
It is a great one little scene, though.
Yeah. I do like seeing like Detective Odo in a film noir style episode. You know, I like the kind of cyberpunk elements that get introduced. So
yeah, I want to see more of that.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, it's just it's an okay episode. So I will also give it a Lieutenant Commander.
Fair.
Moving on to the title. A Simple Investigation.
I mean, yeah, I guess.
I mean, I guess it's relevant. I guess it's relevant to the episode, kind of. It's not a very simple investigation when you think about it, and
I don't feel like there's all that much investigating, honestly.
Nobody ever claims that it's a simple investigation.
No,
I just feel like the title doesn't really match the episode very well.
Yeah, you're probably right. I mean, what it does tell you is this is an Odo episode because he's the investigation person. So
sure,
that works a little bit. But yeah, I mean, you could have done something. This is Odo's big romance episode, and you're not gonna call that out in any way?
Yeah. I definitely feel like they should have gone a little further with the title. And you hear a simple investigation, you think either it is going to be just a simple investigation, and we're going to get a fun little Odo investigation story, or like it's going to seem like a simple investigation, but then Odo uncovers a big conspiracy or something.
Right, yeah. It's like an ironically named simple investigation. But yeah, it's not really either of those things.
Yeah, like you said, like the investigation isn't really the central part of the episode. Most of the investigating happens off screen.
Yeah.
When Odo is like phoning up the Idanians and having his conference calls with Starfleet intelligence. So,
and I'm not going to remember that this title connects to this episode. It's just
right.
Like this could you could call almost any Odo Investigates episode. Honestly, for some reason, this feels more like that earlier one that we talked about, where like Odo has to investigate that murder or whatever, and it turns out it was Kira. Like that's more of an investigation episode. That's also got like the film noir sort of aspect to it.
What was that episode called?
Oh shoot. It was like, was that Things Past or
maybe?
Okay, DS9 Chemist Shop. That's like the only time the Chemist Shop shows up. That episode was Necessary Evil.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think a simple investigation might have been a better title. And maybe Necessary Evil should have been the one where he let those guys get executed. I don't know.
So yeah, it's not a terrible title. It's just not a good one.
Yeah, kind of. It feels a little weak, so
yeah,
not super great. So let's see, what else we got? We got some time. You have any tangents you want to go on?
I was about to say, I'm looking around to see what kind of tangents to go on. Now, I googled like romances in Star Trek to see what people, and it came up with this Reddit topic. What's the worst romances in Star Trek history? So I'm looking through some of these to see if I agree or disagree. The top answer on here is Chakotay and 7 of 9, which I kind of agree that's kind of it really came out of nowhere.
I barely remember that.
The episode where Jadzia nearly leaves Starfleet to run off with that dude she just met on the out of phase planet. Yep, we talked about that.
Meridian. Yep.
Dr. Crusher and that candle.
Yeah.
See, that's the romance you try to forget about. Somebody calls out that Picard and Vash in Captain's Holiday was actually pretty good, and I think I'll agree with that. Like they had a fun, a fun. I almost said aspect. A fun. They played off of each other well.
I mean, she's an interesting character. So
yeah, Neelix and Kess. Yeah, that relationship was creepy and weird because she's like 2 years old. Also, every episode of The Next Generation where they had a guest star as a love interest for Troy.
Yeah.
What else? Bashir and any of his patients. Ain't that the truth?
Yeah, Melora.
We've talked enough about Bashir and his creepy.
Right. This is a favorite topic of conversation on this podcast.
I'm glad it didn't last, but Jake and that full-grown adult woman when he was like 15? Which one are we talking about?
Yeah, are we talking about the Dabo girl?
Or like the creepy chick?
The imagination vampire?
Yeah, I don't know. This person doesn't specify. I like this person's comment. Kira and anybody. Troy and creepy weirdo of the week. Worf and Troy. Seriously. WTF. I don't know. Like, I felt if they hadn't waited till like the very last second to introduce that, it could have gone somewhere interesting. Mm-hmm. Janeway and Paris as lizards.
I don't know. I'll allow it.
I like this person who says, Miles and Keiko, she just never seemed happy. And I will agree with that. She is constantly complaining.
Yeah, because it's hard to like bring Keiko in. It's like it's hard to just write a story about like Miles and Keiko being happy.
Yeah. I feel like it could have been better done if they stayed on the Enterprise. You could have had episodes where Keiko was important to the story as the I said biologist, but no, she's a botanist. Sorry.
Botanist, yeah.
I mean, you could do that here too. You could have a plant story and Keiko becomes an important. They just didn't do that.
Right. She went off to the fire caves one time to study some fungus or something, but
the next generation is more of a place where like they might have brought a plant onto the ship and it like went out of control and took everything over one episode.
Oh, yeah,
because
the
that's
only
the kind of
person
story
who
they
can help
did.
is their botanist Keiko.
Yeah. Deep Space Nine has done that sort of thing, but it's much less that than. Yeah. I mean, we had like the subspace seaweed or whatever in an episode of Deep Space Nine. I don't think that counted as a plant, really, but
yeah. Oh well. So yeah, I guess we can just wrap it up there.
Okay.
So, yeah, thank you for joining us today. You can find all our past episodes and possibly future episodes wherever you're listening to this. Apple Podcasts or YouTube or wherever. If you want to leave comments, you can do that on YouTube. But my name is Fletcher. About to say goodbye is Data.
See ya.
We look forward to seeing you for our next discussion, but remember, don't stand between me and the data ports.
Oh, I thought you were going to go for net girls.
Oh, don't stand between me and the net girls.
Yeah.
I want to get in their minds.